Goodyear knows that performance is everything, whether it's on the road or on the court or field. So when it comes to choosing tires, let Goodyear.com help you choose what's best. Goodyear, more driven.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head the dirt. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood.
Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
Here's Jalen versus everybody.
What up, though?
I'm David Dowling, Jacoby the first.
And on the cool check-in, center stage on the mic.
And we putting it on wax. It's the new style.
We're Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do, Mr. Rose?
We're gonna be live! What they want.
Jalen Rose bringing it today. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Western Conference Finals. Obviously, we're going to talk about what happened last night between the Pelicans and the Warriors and the Jazz and the Rockets. But we're going to start today with a little look forward at this evening's matchup between the Sixers and the Celtics. I'm not going to lie. Bill Simmons doesn't listen to this podcast, so I can say this. I grew up in Amherst, Massachusetts. I had a poster of Larry Bird growing up that I used to pray to before all my basketball games, but I'm rooting for the Sixers.
That you used to do what to? Tell them again?
I prayed to my Larry Bird poster before basketball games. I would just look at the legend. You know the poster. If you're old, you know this poster. It says legend on the bottom. He's not doing anything. He's just holding the ball mid-court. And I would just ask for him to guide me through this basketball contest, and he always did.
Yep.
He said we could never be Holyoke, but that's besides the point. Jalen, why am I rooting for the Sixers?
You're rooting for the Sixers because the Celtics made it to this point, exceeded expectations. They got a lot of experience for their young troops, including Rozier, Tatum, and also Jaylen Brown. However, they're without their two best players, in theory, in Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. You do not want to see them face the Golden State Warriors or the Houston Rockets, for that matter, shorthanded in the NBA Finals.
Nope.
Another reason I'm rooting for the Sixers is because I want LeBron to win the championship, right? And this is how crazy I am. This is how crazy I am. Listen, I feel like the Cavs are going to come out of the East, right? I know it's not a given, but I feel like that's going to happen. And I also feel like if the Celtics face the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals, Steve Kerr or Mike D'Antoni will find out what defensive strategy that Brad Stevens employs, and they can copy and paste that in the finals. You see what I'm saying? I feel like
that's not fair.
That's not fair to who? Brett Brown? That's not fair to Brett Brown?
That's not fair to Steve Kerr, who already has 2 championships, who's already beaten LeBron twice in the finals.
Yep.
They didn't do it with defense. I'll tell you that much. I watched all those games. And you played for Mike D'Antoni. You know he doesn't do anything with defense. Dude.
Well, once you add Chris Paul to go with Capella and Ariza, then you bring in Tucker and Bamute, they have a level of defensive toughness that they can put on the floor.
They do.
Yep.
Well, I'm excited about tonight's game. I'm rooting for the Sixers. I don't think they will win. I think that it will be Celtics-Cavs, but that will be a great series. And even if the Sixers extend it, there'll be a great Game 6 in Philly.
And another reason that you're rooting for the 76ers.
Meek.
And by the way, I like everyone else. When Joel Embiid got drafted, I compared him to Hakeem Olajuwon. People thought I was crazy. When Ben Simmons got drafted, not only did I say he was shooting with the wrong hand, which I still believe that he is. When you see him finishing at the hoop, it's with his right hand. When he gets an offensive rebound in a playoff game and there's 18 seconds to go in his desperation, instead of pulling it out, what does he do? He shoots it with his right hand. But when he goes to the free throw line, he shoots it with his left hand. I compared him to Magic. I compared him to Grant Hill during draft day. So I know the all-time greatness in Philly. But a lot of people leapfrogged on their bandwagon. And once they got down 0-3, I think now it humbled all of the people that were willing to jump on the bandwagon. And by the way, I'm not talking about people from Philly or Sixers fans. I've played in Philly, regular season and or the playoffs. They have amazing fans and supporters that's been ride or die. I'm talking about everybody else that want to talk about Joel Embiid's personality in his Twitter feed and all of that type of stuff. And so I get where you're coming from with your die easy Boston Celtics, but you're not going to have to worry about it because LeBron James is going to take care of the Celtics in the next round.
Yep. Good. Well, Jalen, you know one of my things is that I feel like people don't celebrate enough. And snooker champion Mark Williams must be listening to the show because he celebrated so hard. I don't know if you know, snooker is probably cultural, let's be honest. Snooker is basically a version of pool. There's like bumpers involved and it's weird rules. It's just basically pool, right? So he wins the snooker championship. He's in Europe somewhere. He takes off all of his clothes, does the press conference with a flag around himself like a dress, like a towel in a locker room, and then he tweets that he's going to party all night long. He continues updating everybody on his Twitter feed about how much he's drinking. Updates at 4 a.m., updates at 5 a.m., updates at 5:55 a.m. When the sun's out, he's still drinking. He's like Rihanna after the Met Gala. And then he's out, and then he wakes up. The next tweet is him waking up next to one of his competitors, a male. They're both shirtless. He's like, I don't even know how this happened. He went so hard. I support this. I just want to give a shout to, let me get his name right. I think I said Mark Jackson. It wasn't that Mark Jackson. Mark Williams. Mark Williams, I'm going to start playing snooker. I think if I dedicate my life to being a professional snooker player, do you think I can get there?
I think if you put your mind to it, sir, you can do anything you choose. Yep. And now that you brought up Mark Jackson, I have to say this. Shout out to David Fizdale and congratulations for getting the head coaching job for Jacoby's also die easy New York Knicks. Yep. I want to mention a couple of things. The coaches that preceded him that had success in New York, other than Mike Woodson, I'm talking about Jeff Van Gundy and Pat Riley. For those that don't know, in theory, they were all cut from the same Riley cloth. And so what I anticipate that's going to happen with New York basketball, he's going to bring a level of accountability, a level of toughness, and he's going to make it so that when people come to play in the Garden, it's not going to be like they're the road show and they're on concert and everybody's there to see the road team. Mm-hmm. He's going to make it to where they're competitive against, like the teams I played against. They had Mason, rest in peace, and Oakley and Patrick Ewing. Not only productivity, but a level of physicality. I can promise you that. And the other thing I want to say, Mark Jackson need a head coaching job.
Well, there's an opening in Detroit.
And I hope he gets an opportunity to interview for that job amongst others that may become available. I'm going to say it. I said it before and I say it again. The hardest things to do with the NBA team is to get them play hard, to get them to play hard every night. Mm-hmm. David Fizdale did that with Memphis.
Nah, they didn't lose like 20 straight games. They lost like 20 straight games. They lost 20 straight games, but he wasn't there at that point.
When he was not the coach.
Yes, that's fair.
He wasn't the coach then.
He wasn't
You're wrong.
the coach then. He wasn't
I'm just saying, you're looking uninformed. He was not their coach. They made the playoffs the first year with him as their coach.
With a
the
roster
second year they came back,
anchored by Vince Carter.
Mike Conley was injured. Okay? He had a makeshift roster out there. Actually beat the Golden State Warriors a couple of times, by the way. And he got fired after 13 games because allegedly he didn't see eye to eye with Marc Gasol. But I digress to say he got them to play hard every night. The other thing it is toughest to do for a coach is to build through the draft. I saw Mark Jackson do that with the Warriors. Their core group of players, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, all were drafted. And Steph Curry had to deal with ankle issues. Klay Thompson wasn't a lockdown defender. Draymond Green, with 40 pounds heavier than he is now, wasn't starting and he named him the captain. So I saw what he was able to do with that squad. So I think he should be up for a head coaching job ASAP. Sorry I had to derail Revis this segment.
No problem. Well, we've got head coaching positions, and I'm on the top of my head in Milwaukee, in Orlando. I think Memphis, they named their coach, right? And where else do we have? Oh, Detroit, that's another one we have. And Phoenix, I believe. No, they just hired somebody. Whatever. I'm bad at this. My memory's terrible. Let's get the people they want.
Love scoring amazing hotel deals? Then you've got to get the Hotel Tonight app. Forget scrolling through never-ending lists of hotels. Hotel Tonight shows you a select list of incredible deals at hotels you actually want to stay at. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can book up to 100 days in advance in top destinations, and up to a week in advance everywhere else. Want to get those deals? Yeah, you do. Download the Hotel Tonight app now.
The NBA gave the people what they want. The Western Conference Finals matchup that we all dreamed of early in the season is finally upon us between the Rockets and the Warriors. But first, we're going to discuss how we got there. Last night, Chris Paul told us after the game that James Harden was ailing. So what did he do? He went out and scored 41 points, went 8 for 10 from 3, had 10 assists, 20 points in the fourth quarter. Jalen Rose, what did you see from CP3?
The exact reason why he came to Houston, because when James Harden was unable to perform at a high level earlier in that series, Chris Paul had an amazing game. When James Harden took 22 shots and had 18 points in the closeout game, Chris Paul was amazing. Career playoff high in points, career playoff high in threes made. Chris Paul has continued to improve at basketball, which I appreciate. He could always dribble and shake and bake, but now Chris Paul got a handle. He'll put you on skates. Yes, he was always a guy that flirted with 20 points per game, but now he's a scorer. Actually, per numbers, the best isolation scorer in the entire NBA. You see how he can make it from 3. He always had the snake dribble where he could put somebody on his hip, get to the lane and shoot a runner, shoot a floater. He's aggressive. He makes timely buckets. He was clutch. He was the guy that played in the most playoff games, that had never been to the Western or any conference finals, and he was determined to lead his team there, and he got it done.
Yep. It's a wonderful part of the year in the sports calendar. Baseball season's getting into mid-swing. Basketball playoffs are here. Everything's starting to take shape. Who's going to take home the Larry O'Brien trophy? And while we're watching all these amazing athletic performances, we have to remember that performance doesn't just matter on the baseball field or the basketball court. Performance matters on your tires, which is why we love Goodyear tires. Wherever you're going, whether you watch homers or buzzer beaters, make sure you have Goodyear tires on your car to make sure you get there safely, they perform well, they last long. There's a variety of different tires you can choose from when you go to Goodyear.com. So make sure that when it comes to choosing tires, you choose the right tires at Goodyear.com. Goodyear is more driven. We also have this. The Warriors finished off the Pelicans after a late fury from the Pelicans. It was a pretty easy win for the Warriors. After the game, Draymond Green was asked about the Western Conference Finals.
Man, we won 2 championships in 3 years. We're not about to run off talking about how bad we want to play somebody. Like, we want to win another championship. And it don't matter who's in the way of that.
If you're like me, you spent most of the time watching that just wondering about the triple extra large leather jacket. But he said he downplayed the fact, we're not going to talk about that. We're the champions. We don't need to say who we want to play or we want to play them. We'll face anybody. It's about us. Do you believe Draymond when he says that?
Actually, I do believe him. Do you have the rim shot available? If so, maybe that was a jacket he got from Charles Barkley. But here's the thing. When you've won 2 of the last 3 championships, like the Golden State Warriors have, they are not in the business of circling opponents. Mm-hmm. That happens the other way around. How many times in sports, when a team wins the championships, the Eagles will face it this year, Villanova's going to face it this year, that, when the champ comes to town, they're going to get everybody's best effort.
Yep.
So for the Golden State Warriors, that's been commonplace for them basically the last handful of years. And so now that they're playing the Houston Rockets, they're like, okay, let me see this right. We beat Chris Paul when he was with the Clippers.
Yep.
Houston beat Chris Paul when he was with the Clippers. So he leaves the Clippers to join the Rockets, and y'all think they about to beat us? Let's suit it up and get it on. And I appreciate how he made this. I appreciate his answer.
Well, we are all excited about them suiting it up and getting it on. And one thing I want to point out about this series is how it's truly a clash of styles. You've got, in the league, passes per game. Golden State Warriors, the 3rd most in the league. Houston Rockets, the least in the league. Off-ball screens per game, Golden State, the second most in the league. Again, Houston Rockets, the least in the league. When you look at these numbers, Jalen Rose, what does that tell you?
What that tells me is that a couple of things. The way the Houston Rockets can win this series, which I'm not picking them to do, is James Harden, Chris Paul, Eric Gordon, and Clint Capella all need to be outstanding. Basically playing above their averages or at them in each game. And a level of efficiency that's going to match it. Because when you play so much isolation ball, and I'm pretty sure we'll break that down on this program between now and Monday when they play, there are 4 separate things that happens that works to the Golden State Warriors' advantage.
What's that?
Number 1, you shoot late in the clock. When you watch Chris Paul shooting a lot of those shots in the last game, you're shooting late in the clock.
That's a good point.
That's not always a remedy for success versus the death lineup. The other thing is you don't get offensive rebounds because everybody's standing around watching, which also lends to the fact you don't get second chance points, which are one of the things that you should try to take advantage of with the death lineup, considering KD's slighter build for a basketball player playing 4 and 5, and Draymond Green is 6'7". And the last thing, when you do a lot of isolation ball, you allow the Golden State Warriors to play boxes and elbows on defense, which means they get a chance to help and recover to the shooter and makes that a lower percentage shot if somebody kicks it out. So that's not a thing that beats them normally, but if the Houston Rockets are going to be able to, they have to be outstanding, those 4 guys in particular.
That's a good point. Now, we all know sort of like 4 of the 5 starters for the Rockets, but that 4 spot, they've thrown in a little PJ Tucker and Bob Moute. We haven't seen Ryan Anderson. I don't know what happened to him. He's healthy, but he doesn't play anymore. Who do you think will be kind of that 5th person in the rotation for the Rockets?
I think you're going to see a lot more of Ryan Anderson. Here's why. You want to
see
have
less of him.
Bob Moute and Tucker on the floor because they are defenders and they can play multiple positions. PJ Tucker made a couple of big shots late versus Utah, and I appreciate how he improved his jumpers.
Yep.
But if you're picking the percentages around the perimeter, those are guys you're going to leave open. And so if they're not making shots, which by average and by points per game, it doesn't seem like they're going to be high volume shooters or scorers. I think now you have to add in Ryan Anderson, who's a knockdown shooter, especially when he's out there playing against Kevin Looney or Zaza Pachulia or JaVale McGee. You can sneak him quality minutes when those guys are on the floor, and even David West.
I'm glad you brought up McGee and Zaza Pachulia because the Houston Rockets have Clint Capella, who in my mind is if not probably the second most improved player in the league behind Oladipo. I love Clint Capella's game, especially how it's evolved over the last couple of years. Do you think the Warriors will counter Capella by starting McGee or Zaza or give them increased minutes at least?
I think what they might ultimately do is start JaVale McGee initially.
Yes.
Because you just need his level of athleticism and shot blocking and ability to change ends of the floor. But the problem with that is now they're going to do pick and rolls. He's going to be stuck on Chris Paul. He's going to be stuck on James Harden. And they're going to put him on skates. Now, if they're making those shots, he's going to be out of the game quick. If he's able to get up on him and force him to drive and they're able to help, then he'll get more minutes. But he's not going to play the lion's share of the minutes at that 5th spot anyway. That's going to be Andre Iguodala, the death lineup. So you can switch everything, play like size. They're all intelligent. And also, they're trying to help aid Steph Curry defensively. Because if you're the Rockets, you're trying to see who he's guarding.
Yep.
And majority of the time when he's playing against Houston, it's either CP3 or Eric Gordon. So based on that, ultimately, Andre Iguodala, like you saw in the past, is going to be getting the 5th most minutes of that bunch.
I mean, that's the thing about the NBA now, because everybody switches everything. It's not necessarily who's going to be guarding who at the start of the possessions. It's really who do you have on the floor, because we've seen it time and time again. You just set up, whoever they want. You can get whatever matchup you want using pick and rolls. Yep. Interesting stat. that the staff gave me today. In my mind, James Harden is the best player in the game, perhaps in NBA history at drawing fouls. Klay Thompson, who's going to be matched up with Harden a lot in this series, has not fouled James Harden in a game since February of 2016. Do you think Klay Thompson could limit James Harden's offensive abilities?
That's an amazing and interesting stat, but especially since he's going to be the primary defender a lot of times. He does a really good job of using his size, using his length, and playing without fouling. Possibly that could be some kryptonite for James Harden.
Yep. Hard to believe that baseball season is here. As fans, we demand a lot from our teams. And a new season means not only hope that our teams will do us proud, but a renewed drive and commitment by players and coaches to start strong and finish strong. Goodyear strives to make tires that do the same, to go further, faster, and longer. They're inspired by those who put in the work and effort needed to succeed. So if you demand superior performances from your team, why not do the same for your tires? When it comes to choosing tires, choose right at Goodyear.com. Goodyear, more driven.
Jalen Rose, you rarely contribute to the content of this program, but you sent us a clip that blew our minds and led to the Kevin Love Mystery Cup investigation. After they closed out the series against the Raptors, Kevin Love was at the podium, and we'll take a look at what transpired. He grabbed a cup, took a sip, and then did that. What? What is happening? They closed out a series. I have so many questions about this. Is there liquor in the cup? Is J.R. Smith involved? Is there randomly cups lying around at the podium? Why do you have to look at it? What was he expecting? Who was he looking at after the fact? What's in the cup? Is there liquor? Is it lean? Is it just water?
So
is it cold? Is it hot?
I think he was looking to his right at probably like the PR director or something like that. As far as it relates to the cups, usually it's only water and or Gatorade.
So why would you react that way?
From what I gather, by the look on his face, they just closed out a series. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody slid a little vodka in his cup. So when he drank it, it looked clear. This happened to me growing up. Rest in peace, my Uncle Paramore. I used to always be the guy trying to drink after him and drink up his juice. So he was like, he put some Coke in the cup. And I would just go drink it when he went downstairs, thought I was being slick, and took a big gulp of it, and it was bourbon. It almost killed me, seeing like put hair on my chest. I was about 8 years old. And so that's what that reminded me of watching that clip.
I was also watching the Warriors-Pelicans game very closely because I'm a journalist, and I noticed this on JaVale McGee's wrist. He has a tattoo of a pepperoni pizza slice. Looks like there's some extra cheese on there. Now, what's interesting about this is he's vegan. Jalen Rose, getting a pepperoni pizza slice tattoo when you're vegan, is that a soft move or is that a boss move?
That's false advertising. That's a soft move.
Oh, it's a boss move.
When I look at that pizza, no, it's not. When I looked at that pizza, it looked like the one Odell had in the bed in that footage. It had like some big pepperonis on there. That's why you can notice what it was.
It did. I like the fact that he was like, no, I don't just want a tattoo of a pepperoni slice on my arm. I want it to have extra cheese. I want the cheese to be kind of gooey and sliding off the sides of the crust. I want the pepperonis to be big and not look that good. Can you handle that? The tattoo artist is like, you're crazy, but your money's green, so I'll put that on your wrist, whatever you need. Finally, Jalen Rose, we have an update on something that's very important to me that I'm guessing is probably not that important to you. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is coming back. It's coming back with the original cast, coming back with the original writers. I have two questions for you. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about? And two, is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure cultural?
I have a brother named Bill, a godfather named Ted. It's definitely cultural because I do not know what that show is all about.
You have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about when I say Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I love doing this show with you. So, Jalen, I have two questions for you. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about? And is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure cultural?
I have a brother named Bill, have a godfather named Ted.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't know who Bill and Ted are, so must be cultural.
You've never heard of this before.
Your brain is like a computer, everybody.
You've never heard of this.
You are what you consume. When people say they get focused, what do they say they do? They cut off the radio, they cut off the TV, they cut off social media. So when I saw Bill and I saw Ted, I had on my blinders. I have never paid attention to who and what that is.
Party on, dude. Finally, Jalen Rose, I know something that is on your radar. Something that's very important to you. Two things that are very important to you. One, you fly a lot, travel. Two, you hate it when Uber drivers ear hustle on your conversations. Well, guess what? Uber and NASA have got together, and they are creating a flying, driverless Uber experience just for you, Jalen Rose. Are you interested?
I'm with the wireless car, the driverless car. I don't mind tying up my own shoes. I just saw that one of those Google cars crashed driving itself in Arizona. Not gonna be able to do it!
The strangest thing about this story is that they're coming out with driverless flying cars with Uber. Is they're coming out with them by 2020. Every launch gets pushed back. Like, this won't be out by 2040. There's no way you're gonna hit that deadline. Jalen, Michael Rubin is a co-owner of the Sixers, and he is also socially awkward. This seems to happen more and more lately. You're on Instagram, you're looking at the comments, and you like one of the comments. Did you mean to like it? Did you not mean to like it? Did you click the heart by accident? Did you click the heart for real? Well, Sixers co-owner, who's best known for hanging out with Meek Mill lately, Michael Rubin, liked this comment on Instagram. Quote, trust the process, but not the coach. He liked that comment, Jalen Rose. As they head into a big Game 5 matchup with the Celtics, Jalen, do you think he intentionally liked that comment?
This is why we call it socially awkward, because that's just disrespectful and unprofessional, but more importantly, irresponsible. And I know there are many people that are watching this program, they're going to say, I've made the mistake at liking things that I didn't want to like. I've probably done the exact same thing, but here's the difference. I'm not the owner of a basketball team whose squad is going to Boston to play Game 5 tonight with a head coach who's actually done a terrific job of nurturing your situation the last few years through something we've called the process that you've labeled that has elevated your squad to the second round of the playoffs. If you're looking at that, you got to A, be extra careful. B, you would hope that he's not so deep into the comments that now becomes a part of his psyche. And C, that's one of his employees, one of his most important ones. So therefore, you just can't make those level of mistakes.
I don't believe he meant to do this, but here's the thing. If one of the ESPN executives was liked a negative YouTube comment about our show, I'd be like, dog, what are you even doing reading the comments in the first place? Get out the comments, Michael Rubin. Moving on, our man, Zach Lowe. Let me hear it, Jalen.
Get low. Get low.
He had this to say on his Low Post podcast.
By the way, there's an increasing number of people around the league who think the Thunder should look at trading Westbrook. Not, to be clear, not a report. Not Thunder sources think they should do this. It's just in spitballing ideas with teams around the league. There's a number of people who I've heard just it's time for something to change there. And my reaction to that is no one should touch that contract with a 10-foot pole.
This seems wildly unlikely. Wildly unlikely. Based on his salary, the way he's ingrained in the Oklahoma City Thunder for so long, could you even see the slightest chance of this actually coming to fruition?
We need to get my brother Zach Lowe on our podcast and/or television show for a couple of reasons. Because I need to talk to him about some media 101 that I heard in his commentary. First, it was not breaking news, or I'm not reporting this, but it's an increasing number of people around the league that says that they should trade Russell. Then at the end, he threw in the personal zinger I wouldn't touch that contract with a 10-foot pole. Zach Lowe, are you doing the media thing where people say sources when it's actually their opinion? We need to talk about this. With that being said, I am not, will not, cannot entertain the fact, thought, or conversation of trading Russell Westbrook. Well, last time I checked, didn't he average triple-doubles in back-to-back seasons for the first time in 50 years?
Yes.
He ain't the problem. Trust me, if Carmelo Anthony would have played better, if Steven Adams would have played better, if Robertson had not gotten injured, then they probably would have fared a lot better in the playoffs. Their issues is not Russell Westbrook. I am ignoring, tuning out, changing the channel, muting anybody who tries to say such.
Moving on. Kyle Lowry was asked about this season, and here's what he had to say.
Waste a year for me. I mean, we said it before. For me, it was championship or bust, and that's what I feel. That's what I really feel. So, waste a year for me.
Number 1 seed, best record in the Eastern Conference. It seemed like a good year for the Raptors. Is it a wasted year for real?
Not in the regular season, but you know we gauge success on this program by realistic expectations. And when you made the playoffs with a core group of guys the handful of years the way they did and achieved the number 1 seed, you can't be getting swept by anybody in back-to-back seasons.
No.
It is Wednesday. What does that mean, Jalen Rose?
Hey, ladies!
It is Women's Wednesday here where we celebrate the more intelligent, more responsible, more creative, and just generally superior gender of our species.
Better looking,
the
harder
ladies.
working.
And we do so
More
by
discipline.
taking only female voicemails like this.
Hey, Jalen and Jacoby. This is Lindsay calling from Los Angeles. And I'm not going to call and, ask, a boss move or soft move question that I know is a boss move, like making my fiance listen to your show when we're in the car together, even though he's not a listener. I know it's a boss move. But my boss move, soft move question is kind of related. Is it a boss move or a soft move if someone calls in with a boss move, soft move question that they know is already a boss move? Let me know. Love the show. Keep giving people what they want. Thanks, guys. Bye.
So I'm going to take you behind the curtain of the show for a second. Jalen and I can see each other when the voicemail is being played. And oftentimes, Jalen will just start pointing at himself furiously. And that is a signal to me to let him answer the question. Go ahead, Mr. Rose.
This is one of my favorite callers for a few reasons. We appreciate the support.
Shout out.
She got her boyfriend to listen and or watch our program, even though he wasn't a fan. Yeah. And she continues to force him to do so, or she's going to break up with him.
I
love that.
Yeah. Okay.
I added the last part.
Yeah, you did.
The other thing, I appreciate that she called and she didn't shout out the crew.
Thank you.
And Reggie, shout out to him, still put her on.
I know, this is the first time in years that's happened.
Yeah.
I like that she was driving.
No,
she was definitely driving. You can hear from the audio that she was driving. And she's in LA, she's stuck in traffic. She's like, I'm gonna call my boys Jalen and Jacoby.
Yeah.
And lastly, it may seem like you're trolling when you call with a boss move or soft move and you know the answer, but still feel free to call and get our opinion because we may defer.
Yeah, we always like those. We always like the boss move or soft move questions. Those are always helpful. But to answer her question specifically, I would say it's a soft move when you're talking about one of your own actions that you know is a boss move. It's like, well, yesterday I gave some sandwiches out to the homeless. Is that a soft move or a boss move? It's like, all right, you want us to sit here and celebrate you? You know what I mean? Like that's usually how it goes with the soft move or boss move. Shout out to Lindsay. Shout out to Lindsay in Los Angeles driving around listening to Jalen Jacoby. The second best place to listen to Jalen Jacoby is your car. Best place to listen to Jalen Jacoby is, of course, while you're on the clock, getting paid. As always, on Wednesday, we take only female voicemails. If you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us a voicemail, and we'll play it on the show just like this.
Hey, guys. It's Demi from the Queen City. My boyfriend, Ted, got me on here, so I want to shout out to all my power couples. Shout out Molly. Shout out Joey. What up, though? So I just became a godmom to my godson, Jason, and I love my nephew, Cinco. Shout out to Anne Hathaway. What up, though? Thanks to Jacoby for changing me and my boyfriend's lives by changing the way we order food. Ordering advertisers as entrees, game changer. Thanks, Jacoby. I appreciate that. So living in Charlotte, I've been to a few Hornets games, and I have a question for you guys. Why doesn't Michael Jordan sign some of the Jordan brand players? I don't know. Maybe Kawhi. We could use him along with Kemba. Thanks, guys.
I like that. Kawhi. I don't think Kawhi's going to play for the Spurs next year. Yeah, he probably will. Let's be honest. You remember last offseason? First of all, shout to her, shout to the Queen City. But you remember last offseason, LaMarcus Aldridge demanded a trade? You know, all that took was like one dinner with Pop and like 2 bottles of wine, and then LaMarcus Aldridge becomes an all-star. I think the same thing's going to happen with Kawhi whenever this meeting happens. Yep. But go ahead, Mr. Rose.
I hope so. I've said time and time again since I was the person that first said nationally about Kawhi's unhappiness with the Spurs that I don't want to live in a world where Kawhi doesn't play for the San Antonio Spurs. No. But hey, the Knicks got a new coach. Uh-oh. He's working out in New York City. I just want to put something out on the table that probably hasn't been said for national consumption. I wouldn't be so far-fetched to guess that if he was not a member of the San Antonio Spurs, that the New York Knickerbockers don't get a stronger look than people really think or realize.
There's really only
just say that.
one asset they have that would be worthy of a Kawhi Leonard trade. You know that, right? Like, it ain't going to be Tim Hardaway Jr. and
the asset,
Ron Baker for Kawhi Leonard.
No. The asset of him having the leverage saying, I want to play in New York and I'm not going to re-sign with anybody else. That's all that has to happen. Don't overthink this.
Interesting.
That's all that has to happen.
Interesting.
Look at Chris Paul. That's all that has to happen.
Here's what we need here.
Number one.
Here's one thing. Reggie, do yourself a favor and write down the time code right now. You know what I mean? Because we always say, like, oh, can you pull up that clip when Jalen said? So just do yourself a favor, just for the staff. You know what I mean? Right? Just make a note of this time code, where it is in the pod, because we're going to have to pull up this footage at some point when Kawhi Leonard ends up on the Knicks. If Kawhi Leonard ends up on the Knicks, I'm going to stop being a die-easy Knicks fan. I'm going to be a die-hard Knicks fan. You know I'm moving to New York. I can walk to the Garden from where I'm going to live. I'll be a die-hard Knicks fan. I'll get a tattoo. You'll see me wearing the jersey and everything. Until they miss the playoffs, then I'll just go back to whatever team I like. Wherever Lance is. You know how that goes. And secondly, if you didn't listen to the episode, I just want to tell a couple something. Is you look at the menu and you always want an appetizer and an entree, but when you're 2 people, getting 2 full appetizers and 2 full entrees sometimes is too much food. Yeah. One thing I always like to do is just order tons of apps. If you really like the apps on the menu, get 5 of those. You know what? Just get a bunch. Small plates, get a bunch of different flavors. Because sometimes the entrees are just weigh you down. It's too much, especially if the appetizer is something like fried. If, appetizer is not just like a soup or a salad. If you're getting yourself some hush puppies and chicken wings, like that's just not, you're not going to be set up for a full entree after that.
And also, too, when you order appetizers, they come faster.
Yep.
But if you order appetizers, they come faster than the entree, clearly. But also, it creates a different dining experience. Mm-hmm. I'm the kind of person, like, if we're not in a rush, I like to order one thing at a time, as opposed to ordering 5 things all at once. So it also allows you to do that and spend more quality time with whoever you having dinner with.
I've been a beneficiary of that Jalen Rose experience, and it always kind of confuses the waiters, the servers. Like, they come over and you're like, I would like you'll be like, I'll like this French onion soup or whatever. And you're like, what else would you like? He's like, I'll let you know when it's time to order that. And they come back over, it's like, I'll take a lobster tail. And then you get the lobster tail, you're still a little hungry. And then you ask me, would you have some chicken wings if I ordered some chicken wings? And of course I say yes, even though I'm not really wanting chicken wings. Just so he can get some chicken wings. And also, Jalen Rose doesn't get French fries like as a side. Like, for him, French fries are just a constantly individual thing that he needs at the table at all times. There needs to be French fries around at all times. Thank you, ladies, so much for the call.
Either it's French fries or chips. No wonder I love potatoes so much. Totally makes sense.
I think so. Someone tweeted me this: is potato cultural?
Yep. Potato is how I say it.
But wait,
I think.
Say that again, please, sir.
I do pronounce it potato.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You act like you haven't been doing this show for 7 years and the word potato never came up. Is potato cultural or regional? Because cultural or regional is a segment we haven't really built out yet. But like, is potato cultural or regional?
See, here's the thing I appreciate about doing our program. When I see other people on television now calling things cultural,
it
just makes me feel good.
That's how it works.
It just really does.
And it doesn't make me mad, it makes me happy. It doesn't make me mad, it makes me happy.
And that's why I'm glad we're going to build out cultural or regional. Because this time next year, people are going to be doing that. That's why we've been doing this for 7 years.
Yeah, I would say,
people what they want, even if they're in our industry.
I would say cornbread is more regional than cultural. You know what I mean? And there's certainly things that are more like gumbo. Like that's regional, not cultural. Fried turkey might be both. I want to thank all the ladies for calling. We really appreciate you. Fellas, call 985-80-JALEN. We'll be taking your calls like we do always. We want to thank you all for calling. Thank you all for listening. We want to thank Reggie and the staff for putting the show together.
Shout out.
We'll be back tomorrow. Why?
We're not done. We're not done. Got to give the people time. Give people what they want.
They my little guys. I love them.
Allbirds wool runners are comfy shoes made from sheep. When you put them on, they feel astoundingly comfortable. They're so comfy, it'll feel like you're floating in a river of marshmallows. They also look good, too. Allbirds are designed simply, with no unnecessary logos. You can wear them to work or to play, in the office or out in the town. Allbirds is on a mission to prove that comfort, style, and sustainability don't have to be mutually exclusive. Go to allbirds.com and find your pair of soft, cozy,